Hello and welcome to the show From Fear to Fearless. This show, as you know, is all about sharing of stories of ordinary people doing and continuing to do extraordinary things despite their fear. So today is a different show because I don't have any guests, so I will be sharing something about me and how I overcome some of the fears that I had as a person as well. So we know that fear is a normal part of growth, but for many children, especially when I was a child, I had to overcome many fears that I was holding on to as well. So today I want to share about one of the fears that I had, because the mission of this show is to share with parents some of the fears that your child might be experiencing and how you can help them through these stories and inspire them to get over their fears and work through their fears. So, today, what I want to talk about is fear of judgment. We all have them, a lot of us have them, and they show up in different ways for different people, especially for children. So, for me, a lot of the time you might have heard about my story, how when I came to Canada, I muted myself because I was afraid of being judged that I didn't know the language, the English language. So I came up with the plan. It wasn't because somebody told me to do it. As children, we come up with our own stories and we come up with our own solutions with our child mind to protect us. So that's what exactly I did to protect myself from the judgment that I made myself, I mute myself. So this was for a long time. I didn't just do it for 1 day, 2 day. At school, I muted myself for almost over 5 years. So this about why I do this show is because I had so many fears that I had to overcome and deal with. And that's what sometimes stops children from becoming and reaching their true potential. So that's why this is so close to my heart. So today on this show, let's talk about the fear of judgment. So I told you why I muted myself, because I didn't want other people's to judge. But a lot of the times, judgment is, it's almost like you look at someone and you're also evaluating them, you're also making some remarks on how they're acting or how they're talking. So we as a person, we also judge others, or we also think about what that other person is doing. So for me, this was the biggest thing that switched in my mind, is that judgment is not just we feel like others are going to judge, but it also stems from us judging others. So if we grew up in a family or with parents who were always talking about other people, or if you're a parent and you're in front of your kids sometimes talk about other people, how they're walking or they're eating or their simple things, right, simple acts, our kids catch up on that, and they really see that, oh, this is how other people see us and talk about us. So for example, I want to give you some examples of places your child might be struggling with this. You might not notice it, but they might be struggling with it. So one of the is, we all know, is public speaking. The judgment is basically other people are going to see that you're not doing well, maybe your speech is not good, they're going to see that you don't have much to say. All these negative things come. What if they don't think what I'm saying is valuable? Right? I can be thinking about it like that right now. You're listening to me. I can be thinking, what if they don't find this valuable? Then I judge. So these are some of the things that stops every one of us from, you know, speaking publicly or presenting in the classroom for a child. They don't want to do it because what about if their peers look at them and judge them or make fun of them? We're afraid of that. So public speaking and judgment go hand in hand. We talked with many guests in the past about this and how they felt it and how they had to overcome their mind game and the mind stories that they were telling themselves, and that has helped them. So that's a real huge one. If your child has this, I suggest, the best therapy for anything is getting to the root cause of this feeling. So, why does your child feel this? Where did they get this? And why are they saying this to themselves? And why this story is replaying in their mind? You got to get to the bottom of it. So, what is the ultimate way to get to the bottom of it? Is to have conversations with your kids. There's no other way than to have real good conversations with our kids. And this means getting rid of all distractions, going for a walk, going into the woods, however you want to talk to your children. Don't have other things distracting you while you're talking, but spend that time to talk to them about what's steering them up of this fear, and where's that judgment part coming from. And see, also reflect on yourself and see, how do you talk about when others are presenting? What do you say? Are you listening to their message, or are you judging that person? Is your child witnessing that? If they are, then they might think that that's how other people will look at them and talk about them as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is this fear of judgment even comes when asking questions in the classroom. If the teacher says, "Do you have any opinions? Do you have any comments?" Or if they say, "You have any questions?" Kids have hard time putting their hands up because they are afraid that their question is going to be judged as stupid or crazy or not relevant. So they just stay quiet. But sometimes those are the perfect questions for everybody in the classroom to learn from. But again, what does that stem from? Fear of judgment. I did this so many times in my life when I was growing up. I would have great ideas, but I was so afraid to share it in the classroom because I was afraid that people in the classroom will laugh or they would say something rude and they wouldn't like it. So this is, again, you can work with your children on this. Ask them how many times do they answer in the classroom. Do they ever put their hand up and ask a question? And then you can even ask, is there anything a silly question? Because every question stems from some kind of curiosity or some kind of thinking that that child is having. So we need to validate those questions. There's never a stupid question. It always makes others think deeply as well. So encouraging that and even allowing them to ask questions at your dinner table will help them to start putting their hands up and speaking up, giving them an opportunity to even speak on the dinner table or lunch table. Like whenever you guys are, as a family, if you're together, make sure to have conversations and allow them a space to speak so they can have a voice during this time. And another place is going to the teacher. So sometimes students struggle. I work with so many students, and sometimes the student never go to ask help from the teacher. Why? Because it's fear of judgment. If I go ask the teacher some help, they're going to think I'm stupid. They're going to think that I don't get it. They're going to think that, why do you need more help like nobody else does? So again, it comes back to fear of judgment. So, how do we help a child who doesn't want to talk to the teacher or who doesn't want to go ask questions to their teacher? Is to make sure we encourage them. I, as a coach myself, as a learning success coach, I always give my students a little project. I tell them, you're going to go ask your teacher about when is my next quiz, or can I use a calculator on my math test next time? So simple questions that is not about their ability, but just a simple thing that they don't understand. They don't know the information. They're going to gather some information from those teachers. So by doing these little activities with the students, with your child, you can get them to actually then, when they do have real questions, they will not have the fear of judgment to go ask their teacher. So these are some of the ways that I've seen in students how fear of judgment shows up. And also sometimes if you have 3 or 4 children in the family, sometimes fear of judgment from siblings. It's a huge thing in families. Like if you have 2, 3 kids, one of them is doing really well, the other one fears that, oh, they're gonna judge me, that I don't know the concept, or I'm not doing well in English or math. Again, it stems from that fear of my brother or sister is gonna judge me and they're gonna call me stupid. So as parents, it's really important to have a conversation with your kids about how everybody learns differently. We all learn at our own speed. We all learn in our own ways. So there's no comparison. And as parents, we got to be very mindful whenever we're talking about each of our kids, so that they really understand that you're treating each of your children differently than comparing them. And then when you do that, that's when they will start fearing the judgment again. So today, the whole episode here was to talk about your children's fear of judgment. I want you to, in the next time you spend time with your kids, really observe them and see, are they, do they have these fears? If you're not seeing it, ask them, do they have a conversation about it? Do you have a fear of judgment? Do you think other people, do you always worry about other people think about you, or do you worry about what other people are, thinking or saying about you? Also, saying is another thing, not just thinking. What are they saying? This always occupied my mind as well. So why am I talking about this? As I said earlier, this is something that has kept me from speaking. So if your child is not, as me, went to that extreme to mute themselves, but if you have a child who's going through that phase, they're trying to find out who they are, they're finding their voice and who they are, it's really important to have a great conversation with them. Now, I'm a big fan of going for a walk and talking to your children or child one at a time, of course, a child, about their fear and what they're going through, not with many people. Go by yourself and them and go for a walk and have a really good conversation and bring the topic up so you can help them. Now, again, if you have any other fear that your children are feeling, or if you have any ideas for the next episodes, I really love to hear from you. Please leave that in the comment for me. I can make other shows, bring in other guests. Today I don't have guests, but I wanted to talk about this fear because this was something that I, as I said before, kept me for over 5 years from speaking. Now, what did that do for me? So let me tell you some of the damages that has happened, and let me tell you a couple of benefits it brought too, because every situation has a benefit, but it was more damaging than good. So the damaging is that I never learned. I was fear of this judgment. I never learned quickly than I should have. I wasted 5 years to learn English. I wasted 5 years to, practice my speaking skills. I had to learn it later. So I had to work harder. Instead of learning it when I should, I didn't learn it. I paused it. So we don't want to lose these primary levels or years with your children. That's when they need to practice, make mistakes, and even get laughed at. Who cares? And then go from there and deal with it and get better at it. So I didn't have that guidance. I didn't have that mindset then. So I did it anyway. So what I said, there was one thing that came good out of all of that is me becoming a great listener. Because of that, I am a good listener. But I'm probably sure if I didn't do that, I would have been a good listener too. But that's what I see as a positive side of it. But everything else was 100% negative. So, as parents, our ultimate job is to make sure our kids are growing without all these stories playing in their mind. Because they're young, they create stories. Then they play it again and again and again to validate their feeling. So listen to their stories, ask them what that story is, and get them to tell you what that story is. And that happens by none other than, there's no therapy, there's nothing else other than just being present with your kids and talking to them and having a good communication with them and a conversation with them. And it happens so beautifully if you go for a walk and talk. Even it's more beautiful if you go walk and talk in the forest or by the river or by the ocean. So until next time, I want you to look at what are some of the fears your children are facing, and if they're not telling you, dig deeper, have conversation, go for a walk, figure out what's going on, and figure out what story are they playing in their mind, and bring it to the surface and talk about it, and go to the root cause of it and talk about it. And therefore, when you do both of those, you're going to have a great communication that's going to allow you to help them to get rid of the fear. Work on it. It's not going to be overnight, but it'll happen as we keep working on with our kids. Now, if you're interested in making learning easy for your child, we do have certified learning success coaches. So I would like you to, take our offer. We have an offer right now for free clarity coaching. Now, this is a 45-minute coaching call with one of our certified learning success coaches. Now, who are these certified learning success coaches? So they're not tutors, they're more than teachers, which means that they are all certified teachers, but they're more than teachers because they are now holistic learning success coaches. Everything they do is whole child approach. Even we work on fears with your children as well as learning success coaches. We look at what is required for the learning to happen. And we're not concerned about what your child should learn. We're always concerned about and teaching them how to learn. Because one of the things that's missing in our education system right now is kids are missing how to learn, and kids do not want to learn that something that's not relevant to them or important to them, or if they don't know the why, they don't want to learn. So our methodology begins with that. Our methodology begins with wiring the brain and learning about the brain and learning how to learn. So that's why learning success coaches are so trained to do that. So if you're looking for that, you can book a free clarity coaching call. If your child's struggling with reading, math, executive functioning, if they have ADHD, doesn't matter what spectrum or who they are, we treat each of the child as an individual, and we customize and specialize everything we do with your child. So if you want one of those free clarity coaching call for your kid, for your child, and for your family, please book a call at learningsuccessacademy.com. So this is our website, and we will match you with one of our certified learning success coaches, and you will have your free clarity coaching call absolutely free for you, and you can take it from there with them. So until next time, I really want you to dig deeper with your children, with your child, and look at what fear do they have. And if they do have this fear of judgment, it's going to hold them back in so many ways, because not only, it's not going to show up because they're just going to refuse to go to school, or they're just going to refuse to talk to the teacher, or they're just going to refuse or not show up on the day they have a public speaking at school or presentation at school. So what we want to do is, before these things show up, we want to, dig deeper and see if these fear exist. Does this fear exist within your child? And if it is, what is the root cause of it? Sometimes, as I said, it's hard for parents to admit. It's us. If we're always commenting on others, making a judgment on others, if our children are witnessing it, they're going to think that that's how everyone else thinks of it as well. If you're doing that, maybe it's time to reflect into yourself and see, maybe you want to change that around them as well, because that could actually affect your child and their growth and how they think about other people and how they look at other people. So until next time, I want you to see what's on the other side of fear, because fear is normal part of everyone's life. It's not something we can avoid. It's a feeling. It will come anytime we encounter something different. It's going to come. But how do we handle it, and how do you approach it, how do we talk about it, makes the world of difference. So next week I might have another guest, or it might be me talking about another fear that I encountered, or that I know other children encounter as well. So until next time, as I said, see what's on the other side of fear. Let's ignite and inspire our children to push past their fear and make fear not a factor for them. Again, if you like your clarity coaching call, if you like a free clarity coaching call with one of our certified learning success coaches, please book a free call at learningsuccessacademy.com. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Let's help our children learn and grow fearless. Let's influence and impact them to see unlimited possibilities. Thank you so much, and see you next week.